Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. I'm Anthony Giuliano, and our guest this week is Megan Clouse. Megan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I did pronounce your last name correctly.
You did. Did you see me hold my breath a little bit?
I did, and then you nodded good job. Megan, you and I have known each other for a little bit because you took a class that I teach, and you would figure that I would know how to pronounce your last name as a result of that. But it was all virtual.
Yeah.
And we have stayed connected through a mutual friend who we're going to mention because it will probably freak her out, and that is Katie Huffam. So you work with Katie.
I do.
What is it like to work with Katie Huffam?
I adore Katie Huffam.
Well, she's pretty great.
She is. And it's not even just as a friend I adore her.
Yeah.
She is so talented, passionate, and good at what she does.
All right. Well, that's great to hear. I only know her in the context of sitting around usually a fire or a bottle of wine or a thing of beer and talking about kids screaming around the neighborhood. So
I don't know her like that.
Yeah.
I know her like, we are opening a program, help me, let's go. That's the Katie that I know.
All right. Well, we can compare notes and get the whole Katie Huffam story together.
She's going to love us for this.
Oh, she's going to absolutely love it. We will play this over some kind of public address system in the neighborhood and get her very embarrassed.
I love that.
Well, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. As you know, on this podcast, we talk about your career path, and we talk about your organization and then some of the stuff you're working on. So let's start with the career path question. You went to Homestead High School. Does that mean you grew up in Fort Wayne, or did you grow up somewhere else?
I grew up in Fort Wayne. I actually live 3 minutes from my childhood home.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Southwest somewhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's that like? I ask because I moved 1,000 miles away from where I grew up, and there's good things about that. There's bad things about that. What is it like living 3 miles from where you grew up?
Well, there's good things and bad things about it.
Yeah. Give me some of the highlights.
So I love the area. I grew up in a family of 5, so we're super close.
Okay.
My whole family, we're obsessed with each other, for lack of better terms.
Is everyone still here?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So we're a little spread out. I have a sister who's still in college, so she's nearby.
Okay.
But North Carolina, Indy area, et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, so I love Fort Wayne because I'm comfortable here. I'm going to be completely honest.
Yep.
I am a creature of habit, and I, for lack of better terms, really love the consistency. You'll see some crazy things at Fort Wayne, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great place to live as an adult, and it was a great place to live as a kid. I had great experiences in the school system that I went to. Obviously, I went to Homestead, and then I did a short stint at Ball State, but then I wanted to come back. It's the best little city you'll ever live in, but it's not little.
Yeah. Well, it's my experience has been growing up in a much larger city or near a much larger city. I just really like the size of it. Enough stuff to have fun and to meet interesting people, and enough variety and diversity, but really easy to get around. And an easy life, and you can find challenges where you want them.
Absolutely. Well, we joke. My dad's from New York, so we go to New York often.
Okay.
And I say that you can get 30 minutes and 5 miles in New York, and you can get 30 minutes to Ohio from Fort Wayne. So it's pretty nice. I don't know.
What brought your dad or your family? How did they end up in Indiana?
So my dad graduated college, and his first job he was offered, he's an engineer, was at Depew, so Warsaw.
Okay. Yeah.
My mom, they moved back to Long Island.
Okay.
And then my mom was like, what are we doing here? Yeah. And moved back here. So don't know how or why that won the discussion.
All right.
But Fort Wayne, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So you go to Homestead, you go to Ball State for a little bit. Then you come back and you're at what is then IPFW, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now
I was
Purdue University, Fort Wayne. Yeah.
I was the IPFW blue and white.
Okay. All right. So what are you studying in college, and when did you determine that was a potential career path for you?
So I was studying media and public communication. Yep. I really liked the idea of public relations. I liked the idea of, and I don't want to offend any public relations people by saying this, but I liked that idea of being the middleman, being the face, being the connector of the company, organization, and the public. I really liked that idea. Didn't know how I was going to make that work, but I liked the idea.
Yeah.
And so I was at Purdue Fort Wayne, I was doing a couple internships. I really liked my writing classes. So I did some like IPFW student media stuff. Social media at the time was like booming, if you will. Is that going to age me? But Brett Gogger was working at the marketing and communications department at IPFW. And he was graduating and he reached out to me and said, hey, they need someone to step into this role. Like, would you be interested? And I was like, not to fill your shoes.
Yeah, that's a pretty high bar.
Not to fill your shoes, but sure, let's do it.
Did you work with Sean O'Leary or Danielle Depke when you were there?
I didn't work with Sean. I worked with Danielle. So Danielle and I went to high school together. So yeah, I know Danielle through high school, and we were in the show choir together. So we know each other quite well, I would say.
Okay, so just for our listeners, Sean O'Leary is an Asher employee. Danielle Depke is his spouse.
Yes.
So there we go. It all comes together.
Ready for this small little town that we live in?
Yeah, for sure. So you are working in social media while you are a student. What's that like? Because one of the big changes I talk about with students is that you're used to social media being relevant only to your personal life. It's truly social. And then there's a pivot that happens when it starts to affect your professional life. And for you, not only is it, people are going to be looking at this when they're looking to hire me, but I'm building a portfolio and I'm acting on behalf of a business, which is very different than just acting on behalf of myself and interacting with friends.
I think that it taught me to turn off the Megan voice very quickly. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with the Megan voice. Just saying. But I think that there's that fine line that I've noticed a lot of college students that I've worked with have trouble getting rid of their personal identity, and it takes a minute. And so I was able to get rid of that as a junior in college, which was huge for me when I was looking for a career.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's something that I think is a point of distinction where I often say that if someone is really, quote unquote, good at social media personally, it's often difficult for them to be good at representing a business on social media because you have to be behind the scenes. And if someone is a huge introvert and they want to be the star of the show, that's not what being a social media marketer is about.
It's not really about what being a marketer is about, honestly. Like, unless you're marketing yourself, which I think that you have to, being a marketer, you have to be likable and things like that. But at the same time, there's a job to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Defining that line can get difficult for some people.
For sure. So you do that while you're a student. And is that your post-college employment at all, or is it strictly internship while you're in school? And so there you go, from there you go where?
So that was my internship. So doing that unpaid, fun, like experience for me, doing college. So I was getting paid by a company that a lot of people know of, DeBrand Fine Chocolates, here in Fort Wayne. And when I was getting ready to graduate, the owner was like, no, you aren't going anywhere.
Nice.
And so I was able to step in from a store associate to in the corporate office, which was awesome. Like the best opportunity for any college student, honestly.
Yeah, a brand that people love and it's known, and most people who are interacting with you on social media are probably happy because it's chocolate.
Right.
Yeah.
You would think that, but I mean, there's always a tough cookie.
There's always some in the crowd. So how long do you do that, and why do you make a move after DeBrand?
Sure. So I was at DeBrand, and I literally learned so much. I was doing public relations, social media, et cetera, et cetera. And then I had another internship in college at Business People magazine. That at the back of my mind, I always was like, maybe magazines is what I want to do. Like, I really was still so unsure and didn't really feel fulfilled at the moment. So, I made the switch and I went back to Business People as an account executive, which was wild. I never envisioned myself doing any type of sales. Like, that was not ever what I thought I was going to do. I worked on the editorial side as an intern in college. So I did that. And I'm
So
really
what made
glad I
you
did
think you might want to try that?
I think I wanted to push myself to see, because when you think that you're in marketing, there's so many things that you can do.
Big tent, a lot of different things you can do. And
at DeBrand, I really enjoyed the wholesale piece of it. I got to travel. I got to go do salesy like trade shows, which was cool. So I was like, if we can branch off to that. I really like Business People. I think their product is awesome. Like, let me get my feet wet in that. And I'm glad they took a chance on me because I really did enjoy it. enjoyed the company, enjoyed the aspect, enjoyed what I was doing, but just didn't love sales.
Yeah.
So now I left.
Yeah, well, a lot of figuring it out is figuring out what you don't like.
Oh, absolutely.
There was one place I worked for, I think it was 10 months, really liked the people. They were super smart, but I was like, this just isn't for me. And I had to do it in order to determine that. Sometimes that's what it takes.
Absolutely.
So then after that, you go to the place where you are now, correct? Mm-hmm. How did you find out about the opportunity, and what was the process like of getting your foot in the door?
Do you remember this?
No, not at all. Should I?
Maybe. I don't know.
All right.
So you posted on your LinkedIn.
Oh.
Yeah, ready?
Okay.
I know you don't have no idea what I'm talking about. You posted on your LinkedIn, Brett Gogger had liked it, so it showed up on my feed.
Okay.
And you said something, hiring this, contact me if interested. So I messaged you and I was like, hey, yeah.
I don't remember any of this.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
So I even sent you a thank you, which is a little offending, but it's fine. It was only 3 years ago. I don't blame you. But so you connected me with Larry.
Okay, yeah.
And then I connected with Aging and Home Services.
Well, look at that.
Isn't that weird?
Hey, I did something I don't remember, and it was a good thing. Most of the things I don't remember, people are like, do you remember when you did this? And I'm like, no. And then I find out.
I saw you panicking a little bit.
Yeah. I was panicking a lot. So tell us what you do for Aging and In-Home and what that organization is all about.
Okay, so I am the marketing and communications director. So I oversee all day-to-day operations of both internal and external communications for the organization. The organization is an area agency on aging. So a lot of people don't know what those are.
Yeah, sure.
But they are throughout the United States. And essentially what they do is they funnel funding from both the state and the federal governments into services for older adults, whether that be something like Meals on Wheels. That's like the one that everyone's like, oh, of course. Case management, different services like family caregiver program, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So is it a clearinghouse of services that are relevant to seniors and their families? Am I in the ballpark there at all?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for being generous.
It's a lot. So, I mean, there's a lot of facets. So we like to say we're a resource for family caregivers, older adults, and people with disabilities.
Got it. Okay.
So we have that ADRC component, which is essentially a more grown-up, like call center type thing where you get to talk to an options counselor, like mom and dad, they need to get out of their house or they're having trouble in their home. One is in the nursing home, et cetera, et cetera. And so they have options, but then we have clients who are on our programs for years, and that's their case management program. So there's a lot of things and a lot of things moving, and it's 9 counties. It's not just Fort Wayne. Okay.
So do you have others on your internal team, or is it just you? And if so, what does that team look like?
So I have my supervisor. Her name is Mary. She's our chief development officer.
Yep.
And then we just hired a marketing and administrative coordinator who started in June. Okay. So we are a very small team.
Yep.
But that's kind of how I feel like it works with us. With us, we all have our really good strengths. We all have weaknesses, but we all fill in each other's cracks. So it's good.
So what do you spend your time on? Like everybody always says, well, there's no such thing as an average day, and that's probably true. But what are some of the things that are typical in your work week that are ongoing, and what are some things that are larger and take up more of your time?
Sure. So typical work week, I mean, obviously social media. So Olivia runs a lot of our accounts, but I look over everything that she's doing, and I help develop her and find her aging and home services voice. We also do social media for PACE, which is a new program that we'll talk about, I'm sure. I do all of our grant writing and all of our reporting and all of our project management for that. We do internal communication. So every week we'll do a big email because half of us are still remote. So we'll stay up to date with all of the internal communication, all web updates, all YouTube updates, e-newsletter, literally like everything that you could think of that a marketer does is what I'm doing in this wheelhouse. Okay.
And how big is the staff-ish at Aging and In-Home?
I think we just went over 110.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So a big enough organization that there's a lot of communication that needs to happen, but you can get your arms around it somewhat, and you can find most of the people you need because it's sort of that mid-size organization.
Yeah. It's nothing unhandleable.
Yeah. Unhandleable.
What is that word that I'm trying to say?
It's a word now. It's out there. So Question for you. So you're working under the development wing of the organization. Did you have any background in that grant writing stuff, that piece of it? So what was that like learning? Because that's pretty big, important stuff. Yeah. What was it like learning that on the job?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
So the reason I think that I was able to catch on so fast, and the reason I think that they even took a shot with me, is because I had the background in writing, both at IPFW Student Media and at Business People, being their editorial intern. I could write.
Yeah.
It was just figuring out how to write the story, how to tell the story to the right people, because it turns out a lot of grant people, yes, they want to hear the story, but they also want to know what the heck you're going to do with their money.
Sure.
So it was interesting, to say the least, but exciting.
Yeah.
I think that in 3 years, we've got it under control, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and if you don't, the granting organizations will certainly tell you that. Yeah.
And they haven't yet, so we're good.
Good. So you also do some work with Asher, and thank you for that. And I understand one of the things you've been doing, I don't know if it's in partnership with us or in-house or both, is some video development. Tell me a little bit about some of the video content you've been developing and why it's important to you.
Yeah, so we've been doing all types of videos, both in-house and externally. I, which has now become we, because I've proved everyone that the things that we do are so much better received both visually and emotionally. We're dealing with a population. Everybody loves their grandparents. Everybody sees that their parents are aging. It's the emotional tug that you can see through a visual piece more than a written piece in social media or in website development and things like that.
Yeah.
That really helps with the story and piecing things together.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's great that you see our flyer that says we do all of these things, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, half the people that call us don't even know what an advance directive is. So I didn't know until I started working there.
Sure.
And it's important. These things are really important.
Yeah, well, I know that's something we talked about in the class, and something that it pains me to say as a recovering English major, but video has powers that the written word and even text and photos combined don't match.
Right.
Where you have that emotional appeal. And when you are in the business of really helping people, as you are, it's really something you can't replace with anything else.
No, not at all. I mean, it's one of those things where I can sit and write all day, but hearing firsthand from a caregiver or from an older adult, throw my stuff out the window.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So this may be a non-issue, and it'll be one of the many times when I reveal that sometimes I have no idea what I'm talking about. But it may be a non-issue. But do you have any confidentiality issues? Any issues that you have to work around when you are profiling people who are end users of the services?
Yes. I mean, we obviously follow HIPAA protocols, and we have our own privacy practice protocols, both in our agency and at PACE. So we just have to be really cognizant. I mean, for PACE participants, it's pretty easy because they get to voice for themselves, hey, you're more than welcome to use me. That's fine. But some people prefer not to, and that's fine too. I think with a lot of stuff, when we're writing it, it's really simple just to change names, change a couple details.
Sure.
You're on your way. But with videos and pictures, it gets tricky, because if you take an awesome picture and someone who does not want to be in it is in that picture, you're either figuring out how to Photoshop that thing, or you've got to scratch it. Yeah,
for sure. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you have in your work? Some of the stuff that is either really difficult to overcome and you overcome it, or stuff that you're still working through?
I think that one of the biggest or most difficult parts and pieces of my role is that I'm marketing to a group that is still very much in the old marketing age. They have not entered the digital world yet. But I'm also marketing to half to 70% who are. So you have to make sure that you hit both of these populations. And it's hard. Because some of the things I feel are so redundant. We're doing newspaper, we're doing TV, we're doing e-newsletters. Do we really need to do all of that? Yes, we do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the audience is so fragmented. What's been said to me, it's not something I came up with, but someone once told me it is the same message over and over again, but through a wide variety of media.
Absolutely.
That's how you get to today's audience, and I really think that is the secret. As hard as that makes the job, it's what's necessary if you want to tell a story.
Absolutely.
And do it with a limited budget on top of that. So
right, because you're a nonprofit, so you're like, all right, let's see what pennies we can put there. But I mean, that is one of the most difficult parts of my job is reaching the audience where they want to be reached.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk now about some of the big things you're working on. You've mentioned the PACE program a couple times. Tell us, what is the PACE program and how does that affect your work life?
So PACE is a new program that Aging and Home Services opened with Parkview. Mm-hmm. So it's PACE stands for Programs of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly.
And this is a national program, correct?
Yeah, so this is a program. It started in like 1971 in San Francisco with a bunch of immigrant families that their elders or their parents or grandparents wanted to stay in the home. They didn't want to go into nursing home because that was not traditional for them, which is great. Let's love it. But how do we fix that? And make it affordable too, because it's really expensive to be a caregiver.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
But so this program, we opened it this year. It's been a program in process, like everything during COVID.
Yeah, sure.
But it is falling in my wheelhouse because Aging and Home Services, with Parkview, we combine social and clinical care. So they're really providing that clinical aspect of this program while we're providing the social work, the admin, those kinds of roles. So I am working very heavily with Katie on developing marketing materials and websites and communicating what the heck a PACE program even is, because it's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
So it's not only marketing it, but it's educating the market. So that is what is with the PACE program.
Yeah. And you were going to have in August an open house, and that went away because of COVID, correct?
Unfortunately, yeah. So we would have loved to have people, because I mean, you have to see it to understand. You do.
Sure.
And we would have loved to have an open house, and it would have been fun and see everyone, but we have to be smart.
Oh,
and
sure.
Especially with the population. If the whole PACE team goes down, then what happens to the participants?
Yeah, that would be bad.
Not good.
So where is this? It's a facility, and if so, where is it located?
Yes. So the PACE Center is located in our old office off of Lake Avenue.
Okay.
So we moved. Aging and Home Services. I've got to be very clear on this. Aging and Home Services moved to PHP's old office off of Jefferson. And PACE moved, after it was renovated, into our old lake building.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's very nice. It's a hidden gem west of downtown.
Well, maybe you can do, when the pandemic is fully behind us, who knows when that will be. Maybe you can do an open house. And
we will.
Yeah.
Of course we will. It'll be welcome to our redo grand opening.
Yeah. We've been open. The house has been open for a long time, but now you're invited in. So you have the PACE program. It's taken up, obviously, a decent amount of your time. What are some of the other big things that are either on your plate now or coming up that are keeping you up at night, making you excited? Maybe both of those things.
Oh, my goodness. Well, all of the above. So we just received funding for an Alzheimer's disease program initiative. So it's ADPI grant, which is a huge 3-year program.
Lots of acronyms in your world. Yeah.
Lots. Okay. I know. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Keep up. Come on.
Well, you started with the name and then you went to the acronym, which is very fair. I cannot keep up.
I try.
I stopped keeping up in about 1989, so don't expect me to keep up.
I had a cheat sheet when I first started because I was like, what are you talking about? But anyway, so ADPI, as you know, Alzheimer's has become a major issue in this country. Sure. So the Department of Health and Human Services out of D.C., they are pouring money into this initiative all around the world. So we're very excited to start that program. It's going to be a long haul because there's lots of reporting. There's lots of not only starting the program, but making it work and getting those effective, the numbers and everything.
Sure.
PACE is obviously a very large thing on my docket, but right now we are on the cusp of baby boomers all being over the age of 60. Yeah. And I don't think that people understand that quite yet. Like we're dealing with the staff issue all over the world. Yeah. Baby boomers are no longer working in the grocery stores because at COVID, they were like, oh no, I'm done checking out. And so we're dealing with a population that spiked, and they're all going to need services in the next 5 to 10 years. I think it's 2030, all baby boomers will be 65 or 60.
Okay.
Which is 10,000 a day for the next 9 years.
Wow. Okay.
A lot.
All right. And that's job security for the rest of us if if we can find enough people to do the jobs alongside us. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. And I think that like in the aging industry, we hit on grant writing a little bit. The aging funds have not really been reevaluated in years. So back in, let's say 15 years ago, when they were like, yes, like we have X amount of dollars $10 per person. That's awesome. But like now, we have like $2 per person because of how many more people there are. Those are not the figures, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's going to be wild over the next couple of years, just with how this ebbs and flows.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. I had not done that math in my head. Now it kind of scares me. So
I mean, it shouldn't scare you, but it should definitely, I mean, people, who's going to care for people?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
If it's not going to be your daughter or a millennial caregiver, which we're seeing way more frequently than we had in the past.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I heard it said on, I think it was a podcast, they said that we used to be a manufacturing economy, then we were a service economy and a knowledge worker economy, and in the future, in the near future, we're going to be a healthcare economy. That's basically going to be what
100%.
runs the economy. So you've made a good choice by working where you do, and you've set yourself up for all kinds of success.
It's been fun. It really has been fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're in a position that I find that even us, even those of us who are marketers, we still want to make a difference, even if only obliquely through our work. And it sounds like you're in a position where you can do that. So that's good.
That was my biggest thing. So when I left Business People, I loved what I was doing. Like I loved the magazine and all that stuff. But my biggest thing was I wanted to mix passion with purpose. And so that I found it all. I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing it for an organization that I love and a population that I love. So,
well, awesome. So that leads very nicely into the speed round of the show.
Speed round,
where we talk about 3 questions. And here's the thing, everyone. The speed round of the show isn't really the speed round of the show, because it usually takes 15 minutes to ask the speed round questions, and sometimes it takes the guests 15 minutes to answer the questions. So please manage your expectations when we say speed round. But in any case, first question I want to ask you is about career path. We've talked about how you navigated different challenges and how you ended up where you are. What's your one best piece of advice when it comes to building a career that you're fulfilled in and where you have some success?
Try it all.
Okay.
I do not think you should limit yourself. Everyone goes into college either having a mindset or having no idea what they want to do. Ride that wave. I think that having multiple internships was the best thing I ever did for myself. I think that working in a sales role, I will say this till the day I die. Every marketing person needs to be working in a sales role at some point in their career. It helps you understand really the big picture, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, do not tunnel vision yourself.
All right.
It won't help you.
So try stuff.
Yeah.
And learn along the way about what works for you, and you might be surprised.
Yes.
All right. Well, great. Second question. You work for a complex organization that is critically important, but that not a lot of people understand. So I'm sure you do this all the time, but I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had to describe aging and in-home services concisely, somebody said, what does your organization actually do? You have 30 seconds or 60 seconds, maybe even 120 seconds. What might you say?
Aging and in-home services is, oh goodness, now I've got pressure.
You got the name right. You're off to a great start.
No, I think we're the premier resource for older adults, people with disabilities, and their caregivers. And I think that if that's the shoe-in to what you need, that is all you need to know. I think that one of our most important pieces of the organization is our ADRC. So you can be 16 or you can be 69. Whatever age you are, you can call that Aging and Disability Resource Center with any questions that you have. Sometimes you don't know what question you have, and it's okay just to call and say, listen, this is my situation. How do I help? Yeah. But I also think that there are so many other facets exciting things that I could tell you, but I'm not going to because I only have 10 seconds.
Well, you did a good job of giving people an idea so that they will ask more questions in the future. I do want to dive into just one thing. Do I have it right? ADCR?
ARDC, close.
ARDC. Okay, I knew I would get that wrong.
No, I did it wrong. ADRC. What?
ADRC. Okay, I think we've used all the potential combinations of those letters.
Yeah.
My assumption is that is staffed with folks who have seen it all, and if you don't even know what you need, call them, and they can point you in the right direction, correct?
100%. So it literally, when you think aging, we are all aging.
Yeah.
We're the youngest and the oldest we've ever been right now.
It's true. This is getting very profound.
Thank you. It's literally a resource center to help you along with different stages in your life. And I think that you're doing yourself a disfavor by going at it alone. Ask for help.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
That is, truthfully, I had no idea what this organization was until I started.
Yeah.
My parents, watching them deal with caregiving for a family member was awful without knowing what I know now. I don't know if we would have been able to do it.
So this is a question that might be a tough question, but it's not intended to be a tough question. I think I know the answer, but a lot of times when I think I know the answer, I'm wrong. If you call this service, is it free?
Yeah.
All right. So no downside.
No.
Call them. You're probably going to learn something. You will probably be well served, and it doesn't cost you anything.
100%. But if you're calling for a service, they're going to ask you a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And they're going to be personal, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole idea.
They're just trying to help you.
Yeah. All right. So last speed round question.
Okay.
You have had to make a lot of changes over the past 18 months, as many of us have, but being in a healthcare organization, you've probably had to make more than most of us, including very recently. What's the one thing that you've learned during that time, maybe relevant to marketing, maybe not, that you've learned during the pandemic that you think will stick with you moving forward, that's now kind of woven into your DNA that you didn't know before?
One thing?
Well, you can talk about as many as you want. We've been very time efficient. You can
talk
name
fast.
2 things. Well, so do I. Nobody can understand what we're saying. They're going to have to. Usually, people speed up the podcast so they can listen to it quickly. They'll slow it down so they can actually hear it. 1 or 2 things that you've learned.
I think that because my position, my role is both external and internal, I have 2 different answers for you.
Okay.
So they could be the same. I don't know. We'll see how my mouth goes.
All right.
All right. So I think that the biggest thing during the pandemic that I've learned is that transparency means so much more than coming up with a fluff answer just to get it out.
Can you give me an example of how you've experienced that, why you think that's true?
So in internal communication, we were all so confused as to what is going on. We're still confused as to what is going on. It is so much easier to say, we don't know.
Yeah.
We will tell you by X date.
Yeah.
And if X date comes around and we still don't know, we don't know. You're doing awesome. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
And we move on.
Okay.
I think that giving an answer to staff is better than not, in my opinion. And I think that it makes people happier to know that, like, okay, we all have no idea what we're doing, but the one thing that we do know what we're doing is our jobs.
Yeah.
And let's keep doing that.
Yeah.
Who knows if we'll all be in the office in the next year?
Yeah.
Who knows if we'll be in the homes every day in the next year? But what we do know is what we're doing. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's one thing. I don't know. I feel like that could go both ways for like public. But I think that the other thing that I learned, which could be marketing, could not be, is that people really enjoy like being part of a team in this community. And I say that because it is kind of marketing. The grant, like, piece of my position when COVID hit was insane. And the support from this community was insane that I never, like, you thought that it would be like really hard times. And it was for a lot of people. Sure. But we had partners that we would have never thought that we were going to partner with, helping us, like, loading cars with food. And we had the Tin Cap, like, we were in the Tin Caps parking lot because they didn't have a season last year. So we were able to be there with 600s of cars. Wow. And their staff helped us in directing traffic, loading food up. Like, it was just knowing that you have neighbors to lean on. Not that I didn't know that before, but like, I'm the kind of person that I don't like to ask for help. I'd rather just do it myself, which is a fault a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But Fort Wayne, another reason I love it. Mm-hmm. That's why.
Yeah. Well, and I think when things are crazy, people want to do something tangible and concrete. And, I've learned over the years that the best way to feel better is to help someone else feel better. And then it kind of evens out. So maybe that's some of what you're seeing too.
Maybe. I mean, and it's not necessarily marketing. So like, I feel bad that I failed at your question, but...
You didn't fail me. I failed in asking the question.
No, you didn't. But I really do think that is just... If Fort Wayne gets a ribbon, we get ribbons all the time, but it needs to be like the neighbor ribbon.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen so many people step up. Like random people that like used to live down the street from me when I was a child would text me, what can I do?
Yeah.
Do you guys need me to pack Meals on Wheels cars?
Wow, that's great.
What?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, how do you know that I work there? But thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one of the things that I see as a difference in the places I've lived, and please, people of Massachusetts, this is not a criticism of you. You're great too. But I think one of the differences is that in a community the size of Fort Wayne, there's accountability where it's like, I might need this person to help me tomorrow, so I'm going to help them today. And it's not always transactional. I think it's under the surface. And a lot of people do it just because they're great and it's the right thing to do. But I think there is a greater feel of we really depend on each other. When I can, I better help because someday that's going to return to me one way or the other.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been great. So if people want to learn more about your organization, where should they go?
To our website.
I knew that, but I was just setting you up to give the URL. What's a
really
website,
good at this, guys. I'm really, really good at
What is this website of which you speak? If people want to visit your website, what is the actual?
Should I say the W's or is that a thing of the past?
HTTP.
Tim
Bordy, the late Tim Bordy, the founder of Asher, when I asked him for a website, would start with HTTP. And it was the greatest thing. It was just the best.
All right. Now that I'm absolutely mortified, www.agingihs.org.
Agingih.org. IHS.
In home services.
All right. Aging dot dash. Aging dash.
No.
Agingihs.org.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. We're going to send people all over the internet, but
it might end up there.
We'll put it in the show notes. People can link to it. This is do we have show notes, Nick? I don't think we do. But we can now. Just a special edition of the Asher Marketing Podcast, replete with show notes to correct all the mistakes we've made.
Here's the deal. We did so great. I think that the last, getting the URL out was the longest part of this podcast.
Well, the best part is we've lost everyone long ago anyway. Well, Megan, this has been super fun. Thank you for putting up with the tomfoolery that happens on this podcast. It has been great getting to know you a little bit better and knowing more about your organization. And everyone who took the time to listen to this, special thanks to you. And we'll be back next week with another great guest. We hope you'll join us then.